As your September garden slowly winds down and summer's vibrant hues begin to give way to autumn's golden glow, doesn't your hand just naturally reach for the pruners, eager to tidy things up? Especially when you see a lush hydrangea bush. You might think, just a quick trim now, and next year it'll be even more magnificent. Hold on. This very desire could lead to a grave mistake. Today, we're going to talk about what you absolutely must not do to your hydrangeas in September. I'll reveal the biggest mistake that could cost you every single bloom next year. And trust me, you'll be surprised how simple, yet utterly deceptive it is. For hydrangeas, September isn't the end of the season. It's the crucial beginning of preparation for the next. The plant is no longer putting energy into vigorous growth. Instead, it's busy laying the groundwork for next year's spectacular blooms and settling in for its long winter dormancy. It's precisely during this quiet, transitional period that we, as gardeners, can either give our plants the help they need or unwittingly jeopardize everything with a single misstep. So, it's September. The garden is slowly transforming, its vibrant summer riot giving way to the calm, rich hues of autumn. And as you stroll through your own little patch of paradise, your eyes fall upon it, your hydrangea. Its once magnificent, colourful blooms have now faded and darkened, looking rather dishevelled and untidy from the recent rains. So what's a good gardener to do in this situation? Exactly! Your hand instinctively reaches for the pruners. A thought flashes through your mind. Time to tidy things up! Get rid of the spent blooms, prepare the bush for winter. Give it a helping hand. It seems like the most logical and beneficial thing to do. Snip off those old faded flower heads, give the bush a nice neat shape. But right at this moment, pruners in hand, you're about to make a crucial mistake. It's a trap for the perfectionist, for the well-meaning gardener who wants only the best for their beloved plants. You're convinced you're helping, but in reality, you're setting yourself up to lose out on all its beauty next year. Sound dramatic? Trust me, it really is. To understand why this isn't just a mistake, but a potential disaster for your entire flower bed, we need to take a step back and ask one simple yet crucial question. Before you even think about picking up your pruning shears, you need to answer one crucial question. What kind of hydrangea do I have? Don't just brush it off thinking, what's the difference, pink or blue? The difference is absolutely monumental. It's like comparing a cat and a dog. They're both beloved pets, but their care couldn't be more different, and the same goes for hydrangeas. Why is this so important? The answer is simple, because everything hinges on your answer to that question. It dictates your entire care strategy, and most importantly, your pruning technique. You see, the world of hydrangeas is divided into two distinct categories, two entirely different realms with their own unique rules. If you apply the rules from one type to a plant from the other, you're headed for trouble. It's precisely this lack of understanding that often results in beautiful, healthy bushes remaining nothing but green foliage year after year without ever producing a single bloom. Let's uncover the key secret that divides all hydrangeas into two distinct groups. It's quite simple, but it's crucial to grasp this concept once and for all. So, some hydrangeas bloom on what's called old wood. Remember that term? And others bloom on new wood. Does that sound a bit too technical? Let me explain it in plain terms. Imagine a hydrangea bush waking up in spring. One type of hydrangea might think, great, I'll quickly grow some fresh green shoots, and those are exactly where my summer flowers will appear. These are the ones that bloom on new wood. Another hydrangea, however, has a completely different plan. Okay, all my blooms will emerge from the branches that grew last year and successfully survived the winter. This is what we call blooming on old wood. And this simple difference is the key to understanding everything we'll discuss today. Behold, the star of our show, the Bigleaf hydrangea. I'm sure many of you have one thriving in your own gardens. You know the one, those massive dense flower heads that famously shift from pink to blue, all thanks to your soil's acidity. She's a true garden queen, a real showstopper that captures everyone's attention. And yet, Despite her beauty, she's arguably the most temperamental and unforgiving when it comes to pruning. She's responsible for 99% of all gardener frustrations. Those times you wait and wait for blooms, only for them to never appear. She simply doesn't forgive mistakes. And the biggest, most catastrophic mistake you can make, pruning her in the fall. Now, let's explore why this particular mistake can be so devastating. Here's the most crucial thing to understand about bigleaf hydrangeas. They don't set their flower buds for the following year in spring, as many believe. They're actually doing it right now, in late summer and early fall, as this year's blooms are winding down. So, where exactly do these buds form? And this is where it gets really interesting. These tiny, barely noticeable buds develop on the very same branches that flowered this year, primarily in their upper sections. It's as if the plant is saying, "Okay, this shoot did a fantastic job. It's strong, so it'll produce plenty of flowers again next year." It then begins its preparation. This entire process happens quietly, unseen by our eyes. But right now, the stage is being set for all of next year's beautiful blooms. So imagine this. Eager to make things beautiful and tidy, you approach your big leaf hydrangea in September, pruning shears in hand. You spot those spent flower heads and decide, time to trim these branches to make the bush nice and neat. And you start cutting. But what's really happening at that moment? You're not just tidying up old blooms. With your own hands, you are systematically removing every single future flower. Every single one. Each snip of those shears subtracts one magnificent flower head from next July's display. You think you're performing a general tidy-up, but in fact, you're carrying out a wholesale destruction of next year's flowering. The bush will survive, of course. It will put out new shoots in the spring, but it won't flower on them. That's because big leaf hydrangeas bloom on old wood, on last year's growth, and you've just removed all of it. Another common mistake, often stemming from the first, is cutting spent blooms too low. A gardener might reason, "Okay, I won't shorten the entire stem. I'll just remove the faded flower to tidy things up." And then, aiming for extra neatness, they snip it off, along with a couple of the uppermost leaves. This might seem like a minor detail, but don't be fooled. This is another critical error, because it's precisely there, in the leaf axils of those very top leaves, often tucked away, that the strongest, most viable and earliest flower buds are hidden. These are the pioneers of your next bloom cycle. By cutting them off, you might not destroy all future flowers, but you will certainly miss out on the largest and earliest blossoms. If you absolutely must prune, the correct method is a delicate, precise operation. You should only remove the spent flower head itself, leaving the stem and all its leaves completely intact. But what about those long, bare shoots that shot up this year but didn't bloom? This is quite common, especially with younger plants. They often stick out, sometimes even towering over the rest of the plant, seeming utterly useless. Your inner perfectionist gardener might scream, "They're just ruining the shape. Cut them right back to the base." Don't do it. These aren't useless branches at all. They are, in fact, your golden ticket. These shoots have spent all summer gathering strength, maturing and preparing themselves. And it's on them, specifically their tips, where you'll find the most spectacular and vigorous blooms next season. A 99% certainty. Just leave them be. Let them quietly overwinter. Next summer, they'll generously reward your patience. Now let's debunk a very popular, yet extremely damaging myth that many of you have probably heard from well-meaning neighbours or read on gardening forums. The myth states, all hydrangeas need aggressive fall pruning to ensure better blooms in the spring and summer. This is absolutely false, and it has tragically led to the demise of countless beautiful big-leaf hydrangea bushes. While this advice might indeed work for other plants such as roses, applying it indiscriminately to all hydrangeas is like trying to cure every illness with a single universal pill. The outcome will be nothing short of disastrous. Remember this crucial point: drastic fall pruning for bigleaf. Hydrangeas doesn't stimulate flowering. It completely eliminates any chance of blooms for the entire following year. But wait, a seasoned gardener might exclaim, There are hydrangeas that can and should be pruned in the fall, and they would be absolutely right. Yes, indeed. This is precisely the second group we mentioned at the start. It includes panicle and smooth hydrangeas. You'll easily recognise them. Panicle hydrangeas have large pyramid-shaped or conical flower heads, initially white or greenish, often turning pinkish by autumn. As for smooth hydrangeas, like the well-known Annabelle, their blooms are enormous white or creamy spheres. For these two beauties, an autumn trim isn't just harmless, it's actually beneficial to a certain degree, and I'll tell you why right now. You might be wondering, why can these be pruned so freely? What sets them apart from their more temperamental big-leafed cousins? The answer is quite simple. They bloom on new wood, meaning the growth from the current year. Let's clarify what this means. Come spring, as the shrub awakens from its winter dormancy, it vigorously puts out fresh, young, green shoots, and it's precisely on the tips of these fresh, current season's growths that those magnificent flower clusters will emerge by midsummer. Can you see the key difference? The plant isn't reliant on last year's branches for its blooms. Each year it essentially builds its foundation for flowering entirely from scratch. Therefore, when you prune a panicle, or PG, or smooth hydrangea in the autumn, you're absolutely not harming any future blooms. You're simply removing old wood, clearing the way, and encouraging the growth of new, strong shoots come spring. Beyond simply admiring their beauty, what's the best way to care for your hydrangeas in September? Put down the pruning shears and pick up the fertiliser. Now that active growth has wound down, your plants need the right nutrients to prepare for the long, cold winter ahead. Right now, your hydrangeas need potassium and phosphorus. These two elements are your plant's best allies this autumn. They won't stimulate new, tender growth. Instead, their job is to strengthen the plant. Potassium helps the stems harden off, making them woody and resilient against freezing temperatures. Phosphorus, meanwhile, fortifies the root system. Nitrogen, however, is your biggest no-no during this period. It's absolutely off limits. Nitrogen fertilizers stimulate the development of fresh, tender shoots and leaves, which are entirely unneeded before winter. The first frost will kill them off, and your plant will have wasted precious energy for nothing. Watering also needs careful adjustment. The cooler September temperatures and increased rainfall are already making a difference. The soil won't dry out as quickly as it did in summer, so you'll need to water less frequently to prevent root rot. In autumn, overwatering is far more detrimental than a little drought. Before you reach for the watering can, check the soil moisture a few inches deep. If it feels moist, you definitely don't need to water. Your goal now is to help the plant transition smoothly into dormancy, not to stimulate it with excess moisture. Healthy, well-drained roots are key to a successful winter. The only pruning permissible for all types of hydrangeas in September is what's known as clean-up pruning. But it's crucial to understand what this actually means. This isn't about trimming for aesthetic appeal or shaping the bush. Instead, consider it first aid for your plant. Clean-up pruning involves carefully removing only branches that are clearly broken by wind, shoots showing signs of disease, or very thin, weak twigs that obviously won't survive the winter and would only unnecessarily drain the plant's energy. You're simply clearing away anything that isn't viable. But here's the golden rule. Absolutely no shortening of healthy, strong shoots. That is strictly forbidden. Approach this like a surgeon. You're only excising what's detrimental to the plant, leaving all healthy tissue untouched. Make sure to clear all fallen leaves from beneath your shrub. This isn't merely about aesthetics. Decaying leaves offer a perfect refuge for fungal spores and pests to spend the winter. Come spring, as soon as the weather warms, they'll eagerly attack your plant, which is already weakened after the winter. Therefore, keeping the area under your hydrangea clean in the fall isn't a mere preference. It's a vital part of winter preparation and key to its health in the new season. As September arrives, it's the perfect time to start planning your winter plant protection. While it's still a bit early for the actual covering, now is definitely the time to strategize. This advice is particularly crucial for our temperamental beauty, the bigleaf hydrangea. The challenge with these hydrangeas is that their flower buds, which we've so carefully protected from the pruning shears, are incredibly vulnerable. They're less threatened by deep frost under a blanket of snow and more by harsh icy winds, freezing rain, and those deceptive spring thaws followed by sudden freezes. These are precisely the conditions that most frequently jeopardise their future blooms. So now is the time to start planning exactly how you'll protect them and to gather your materials, things like evergreen boughs, frost cloth, hoops, or a sturdy wooden frame. That way, when the first series freezes arrive, you'll be fully prepared rather than scrambling around the garden in a panic. And now for the most crucial part, the real game changer. Consider this. The fate of a magnificent, bloom-covered hydrangea bush next July isn't decided in spring. It's decided right now in your quiet September garden with a single snip of your shears. Those tiny, almost invisible buds already hold the entire blueprint for next year's blooms. And they are incredibly vulnerable. When you pick up those pruning shears and cut back a big leaf hydrangea stem in autumn, you're not just shortening a branch, you are literally erasing its future. You are cancelling the very blooms you've been looking forward to. It's like deleting a file from your computer with no chance of recovery. Understanding this simple fact is what separates an experienced gardener from a novice. So, let's recap. The golden rule for September. Hands off the pruning shears when it comes to big leaf hydrangeas. All they need is proper feeding, moderate watering, and preparation for winter protection. Panicle and smooth hydrangeas, however, can be pruned, though many gardeners still prefer to do it in spring. Thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope these tips save your hydrangeas from ill-advised pruning and reward you with incredible blooms next year. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future episodes. Now, a question for you. What kind of hydrangeas are growing in your garden? And be honest, have you ever made this fateful mistake with autumn pruning? Share your experiences in the comments below. Let's learn together.